South African politics may have just undergone a seismic shift, potentially ending an era of one-party dominance. Within the country's political system, an unprecedented number of parties and independent candidates are emerging, offering new alternatives to voters. This new reality is one the African National Congress, or ANC, must now confront. But what has led to this dramatic change, and why is the ANC, once considered unbeatable, now losing ground in the elections? Founded in 1912, the ANC has played a crucial role in South Africa's political landscape, particularly in its fight against apartheid. In South Africa, the white minority held dominant political, social, and economic power, enforcing laws that segregated non-white South Africans into separate living areas and facilities. The ANC was then established as a liberation movement and later transformed into a political party. It emerged to advocate for the rights of black South Africans and to oppose apartheid policies. Despite being banned by the South African government from 1960 to 1990, the ANC operated from exile, focusing on sabotage and guerrilla warfare against the apartheid regime. Upon its unbanning in 1990 and the end of apartheid in the following years, the ANC began restructuring at branch and regional levels, electing leadership across the country. Nelson Mandela was then elected as the ANC's president in 1991, leading up to South Africa's first multiracial elections in 1994. In South Africa, the voting system differs from direct presidential elections. South Africans vote for 400 members of the National Assembly, who then select the president by a simple majority, requiring at least 201 votes. In the 1994 elections, the ANC won massively, claiming 62.65% of the vote, and subsequently elected Nelson Mandela as South Africa's first black president. Ever since, the ANC has remained a dominant force in South African politics. The party has consistently won the majority in all 6 national elections since the end of apartheid. In 1999, the ANC garnered 66.4% of the vote, which increased to nearly 70% in 2004, its highest ever. The 2009 election saw the ANC win almost 66% of the votes, leading to Jacob Zuma's presidency. The ANC maintained a 62% majority in the 2014 elections during Zuma's second term. Under Zuma, the ANC's strategy was marked by a blend of mainstream policy implementation framed as revolutionary, alongside an expansion of cadre deployment to secure its interests within state structures. The ANC aimed to build a unified South African identity, encouraging both black and white citizens to participate in the nation's transformation. Its focus has been on economic development, striving to eradicate economic disparity and exclusion, while enhancing the overall quality of life for all South Africans. Despite its sustained dominance, the ANC has faced significant challenges and criticisms. Observers have pointed out signs of weakening, particularly during the Zuma era, and have noted a perceived decline in the party's dominance. Although South Africa has made strides under ANC rule, several significant issues persist. The country remains one of the most unequal in the world, with unemployment soaring at 32% and crime rates climbing. Growing frustrations over water and electricity shortages alongside rampant corruption have fueled increasing criticism of the ANC government. For many South Africans, the initial progress following liberation from white minority rule has stalled. Despite notable accomplishments in Africa's most industrialized nation, the deep-seated inequalities inherited from the apartheid era have not only persisted, but have also worsened over the last decade. The ANC's vote share has been slipping by a few percent in every election since 2004, causing a generational divide in South Africa. The older generation, who experienced apartheid firsthand, remain loyal to the ANC, appreciating its role in liberating black people. In contrast, younger voters born after apartheid are less inclined to support the party. Looking around the region, many civil servants and government appointees, especially within the security forces and state-controlled media, are former guerrilla fighters. Their loyalty often lies with the party rather than the nation. However, voters today are no longer swayed by historical affiliations. Voter turnout has been gradually declining as well. For instance, in 1999, nearly 90% of registered voters cast their ballots. But by 2019, turnout had dropped to 66%. This trend has hit the ANC particularly hard. as the gradual decline in support over the past 20 years has become more pronounced recently. The ruling party now faces stiff competition from established opposition groups like the economically liberal Democratic Alliance, or DA, and the Marxist-inspired Economic Freedom Fighters, or EFF. Additionally, newcomers like the Umkhonto weSizwe, or MK party, led by former President Jacob Zuma, who is strongly opposed to current South African leader Cyril Ramaphosa, add to the challenge. As the 2024 elections approached, President Cyril Ramaphosa was gearing up to retain power as the ANC's candidate. Leading up to the May 29 elections, a record 27.7 million South Africans registered to vote. However, only 16.2 million cast their ballots, resulting in the lowest voter turnout in South Africa's 30-year democratic history at 58.64%. This election marked the first time independent candidates were allowed to compete, with 11 independents running alongside candidates from 70 parties. Based on the 2019 election results, the 400-member Lower House of Parliament was proportionally represented by 14 political parties. The ANC held 230 seats, the DA 84 seats, the EFF 44 seats, the Inkatha Freedom Party, or IFP 14 seats, and the remaining 28 seats were split among 10 other parties. When the final results were announced on June 1, 2024, the ANC had secured only 40% of the vote, a significant drop from the 57% it received in 2019. The main opposition party, the DA, garnered 21.63%, while the MK party took 14.71% and the EFF received 9.52%. President Ramaphosa's future is now uncertain. He is the first ANC president to lose the party's majority and has witnessed the steepest decline in vote share, with turnout dropping to 58%. The party with the largest vote has 2 weeks from the confirmation of results to form a new government. For the first time, the ANC will need to form a coalition with one or more opposition parties to stay in power. While coalition governments are common at the local level in South Africa, they have never existed at the federal level. The composition of an ANC-led coalition is now the key question. Such a coalition could be unstable due to the divisions that caused the parties to split in the first place. To retain the presidency, the ANC might need to offer opposition parties cabinet positions or greater control of parliament, potentially even the speaker's role. The ANC faces tough decisions following an election that has ushered South Africa into a new era where the opposition has significant influence over the government's future. Despite the ANC's poor performance, 71-year-old President Cyril Ramaphosa has indicated he will not step down and is still seeking his second and final term. However, some opposition parties, including Zuma's MK party, have ruled out a coalition with the ANC unless Ramaphosa is removed. Meanwhile, the leader of the IFP has announced that his party has agreed to join a government of national unity that includes the ANC and the DA. This marks the first official indication of a potential government of national unity. But the situation remains uncertain. It is clear that South Africa is on the brink of a significant shift in governance, with the potential coalition choices set to dramatically alter the political landscape. The DA, with its liberal economic policies, contrasts sharply with the EFF and MK, which advocate for policies such as the expropriation of white-owned land and the nationalization of key economic sectors. The DA has traditionally been seen as representing the interests of white, Asian, and mixed-race communities, which make up just 7%, 3%, and 8% of the population respectively. Led by John Henry Steenhuisen, the party struggles to attract black voters who are disproportionately affected by poverty. If the ANC seeks to salvage its presidency through a coalition, a partnership with the DA seems most likely. On the other hand, the new MK party aims to deliver a significant blow to the ANC. Named after the ANC's former military wing, the party was established just 8 months before the 2024 elections. Despite this, it has quickly exceeded expectations. Led by former President Jacob Zuma, the party draws support from former ANC loyalists and ethnic Zulu South Africans who followed Zuma after he was ousted by the ANC in 2018 amidst corruption allegations, which he denied. In 2021, Jacob Zuma was sentenced to 15 months in prison for contempt after refusing to comply with a court order to appear before a corruption inquiry from his 9-year presidency. President Ramaphosa released Zuma after he served only 3 months, hoping to calm Zuma and his supporters. Zuma, however, made a political comeback with a new party, MK, which has become the third largest party in South Africa, winning nearly 15% of the vote in the 2024 elections. MK's impact is most notable in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa's second most populous province, where the party won about 46% of the vote compared to the ANC's 18%. Regardless of the final parliamentary vote outcome, it's clear that the ANC is struggling to maintain its dominance. The unfolding political drama indicates that South Africa is on the cusp of intense negotiations and potential realignment, with the ANC navigating its weakest position in decades. The coalitions formed and the parties that join them will undoubtedly reshape the country's political landscape, embark on a journey to uncover South Africa's concealed narratives and untold stories by subscribing to our channel. Become part of a community passionate about understanding, engaging, and appreciating Africa. Hit subscribe, embrace the unknown, and join us in reshaping perspectives.